What happens when one of Hollywood's brightest stars stands steady against the increasingly hostile behavior of late-night television's most controversial host? The entertainment world was stunned after Margot Robbie was unpleasantly kicked off from the Jimmy Kimmel live show, following what started as a routine celebrity interview but swiftly escalated into one of the most intense on-air clashes in recent television history. The aftermath has been nothing short of seismic, with industry insiders revealing the unsettling behind-the-scenes reality of the late-night talk show. Before we delve into the full details of this jaw-dropping incident, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, so you never miss out on the real Hollywood stories the mainstream media won't tell you. Drop a comment below with your thoughts as you watch this unfold. The evening began like any other taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The studio audience buzzed with anticipation, knowing they were about to see Margot Robbie, who was there to promote her latest film project. The production staff seemed tense, though few would grasp why until later. Margot arrived at the studio with her radiant, approachable charm, chatting with fans outside and snapping selfies, completely unaware of the storm about to erupt. According to sources close to the production, Kimmel had been in a particularly sour mood all day, snapping at staff members and making unreasonable demands. "He's always been challenging," said one production assistant, who wished to remain anonymous. "But lately, it's been getting worse. The person you see on camera is not who he is when the cameras stop rolling." When Margot was finally introduced and walked onto the stage, the audience erupted in enthusiastic applause. She flashed a warm, confident smile, giving Kimmel a friendly handshake before settling into her seat. The initial pleasantries seemed normal enough, with Kimmel asking about Margot's new film and her experience working with the director. Margot, ever the polished professional, answered with sharp wit and infectious energy, channeling the charisma that made her Harley Quinn so iconic. The first sign of trouble came when Kimmel abruptly shifted topics, bringing up Margot's personal life in a way that clearly caught the actress off guard. "So Margot, we've all heard about your high-profile life off-screen," Kimmel said, with an unsettling smirk. "Got any spicy stories from your Hollywood journey to share with our audience?" The camera caught Margot's smile faltering slightly. She maintained her composure, but her eyes sharpened, clearly unimpressed with the unexpected pivot. "Jimmy, you know I'm here to talk about the film," she said, her voice calm but firm, with a hint of her signature Aussie directness. "Let's keep it focused, yeah." Rather than respecting her guest's boundaries, Kimmel pressed harder. "Come on, Margot. The fans want the real scoop. You can't just strut onto my show and dictate the terms like you're running the set." The audience's laughter grew noticeably strained as the tension on stage became palpable. Margot tilted her head, her confident demeanor unwavering, but her tone grew firmer. "Actually, Jimmy, that's exactly how these appearances work. We set clear boundaries before I got here, and my personal life's not up for grabs." What viewers at home didn't know was that Margot's team had indeed negotiated clear parameters for the interview, which Kimmel was now deliberately violating. A member of Margot's publicity team later revealed they had extensive discussions with the show's producers about respecting certain boundaries, particularly regarding her private life and relationships. Kimmel's response was to double down, his tone growing increasingly condescending. "That's not how my show works, Margot. My audience expects real, unfiltered conversations, not some glossy PR routine." The tension in the studio was undeniable now. The audience fell uncomfortably quiet, sensing the growing hostility between the two. Margot took a steady breath, her bright eyes locked on Kimmel, as she tried to redirect the interview. "Look, Jimmy, I respect what you do, but this feels like a low blow. We've got plenty to talk about: the film, my career, even the wild stunts I've tackled. My personal life's off limits, and you agreed to that." Kimmel's face visibly hardened. Those who have worked closely with the host recognized what was coming. The infamous temper that had allegedly reduced staff members to tears on numerous occasions was about to surface publicly. "Don't tell me how to run my show, Margot," Kimmel snapped, his friendly television persona completely evaporating. "You Hollywood types are all the same, thinking you can control everything. This is my show, my rules." The studio fell completely silent. Margot, unfazed by the outburst, kept her cool, her poised features steady. "I'm not trying to control your show, Jimmy," she said, her voice calm but laced with sharp conviction. "I'm just asking for the basic respect of honoring what we agreed on before I stepped out here." During the next commercial break, witnesses reported seeing heated exchanges between Margot's team and the show's producers. Margot herself remained seated, her posture relaxed but alert, scrolling her phone with deliberate nonchalance, avoiding eye contact with Kimmel, who huddled with his writers at the edge of the stage. When the cameras started rolling again, the tension had clearly escalated rather than dissipated. Kimmel returned with a passive-aggressive apology that sounded anything but sincere. "Sorry if I hit a nerve there, Margot. Guess some topics are too sensitive for a leading lady." It was at this point that Margot decided she'd had enough. Dropping her usual warm charm, she leaned forward, fixing Kimmel with a direct stare. "You know what, Jimmy? I've dealt with tough characters on screen and off for years. I can spot a cheap shot from a mile away, and I'm not here to be your clickbait for ratings." The audience gasped. No one had expected Margot Robbie, known for her vibrant poise and quick wit, to confront Kimmel so directly. But those close to the actress weren't surprised. "Margot's charming and professional, but she's tough as nails," said a longtime colleague. "She won't let anyone push her around, not even a big shot like Kimmel." Kimmel's face flushed with anger. The camera caught his knuckles whitening as he gripped his desk. "Are you suggesting I'm setting you up for ratings?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. "I'm not suggesting it," Margot replied, her tone cool and confident, with a hint of Harley's defiance. "I'm saying it plain and clear, and your reaction tells movements I'm right." What happened next sent shockwaves through the studio audience, and would soon break the internet. Kimmel, clearly unused to being challenged on his own show, completely lost his composure. The mask of the charming, affable host slipped entirely, revealing the rumored temperament that industry insiders had whispered about for years. "Cut to commercial," Kimmel barked at his production team. But the show's director, caught off guard by the sudden command, hesitated just long enough that the cameras captured what happened next. Kimmel leaned forward, jabbing his finger toward Margot. "You think you can come on my show and talk to me like that?" he hissed, his voice low but intense enough that the nearby microphones picked it up clearly. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Margot, unfazed, met his gaze with a calm, steely resolve. "I know exactly who you are, Jimmy. The question is, do you? Because this isn't how you treat a guest, especially when you invite it here." The audience sat in stunned silence as the exchange continued. Several people began recording on their phones, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary. These videos would later circulate widely, providing irrefutable evidence of what transpired. "You're done here," Kimmel said, his face contorted with anger. "Get off my stage." Margot raised an eyebrow, a faint, incredulous smile crossing her face, like she was channeling a defiant character from one of her films. "You're really kicking me out, because I wouldn't let you break the deal we made?" "Security," Kimmel called out, signaling to the large men positioned at the edges of the studio. "Please escort Ms. Robbie off the premises." The audience erupted in a mixture of gasps, boos, and confused murmurs. Several people stood up in protest, while others began shouting at Kimmel. Margot, ever poised, raised her hands in a calming gesture toward the approaching security personnel. "No need for the escort, guys," she said, her voice steady with a touch of sharp wit. "I can find my own way out." She turned to the audience, offering a warm, confident smile that contrasted sharply with Kimmel's obvious fury. "Sorry you all had to see this. Not quite the show we expected tonight." As Margot stood to leave, one brave audience member called out, "We're with you, Margot." This triggered a wave of supportive applause that clearly infuriated Kimmel further. Margot walked off stage with the grace of a seasoned star, nodding politely to the security guards, who now seemed uncomfortable with their assignment. As she disappeared backstage, the audience's applause continued, morphing into something that sounded distinctly like a protest against the host's behavior. Once Margot was gone, Kimmel, visibly shaken but attempting to regain control of his show, tried to play the incident off as a joke. "Well, that was interesting," he said, with a forced laugh that fooled no one. "Some people just can't take a little ribbing, am I right?" The audience's silence was deafening. The cameras caught several people getting up and walking out of the studio in disgust. According to witnesses backstage, Margot's team was already on their phones, dealing with the fallout. Margot herself appeared remarkably composed. "I've handled tougher scenes than this," she reportedly told her publicist with a wry smile. "But there's a line, and he crossed it on purpose. I'm not here to be anyone's prop for ratings." Meanwhile, Kimmel's producers were in crisis mode. The show still had another segment to film, but the atmosphere in the studio had turned hostile. Audience members were openly discussing what they'd witnessed, with many expressing shock at Kimmel's behavior. "It was like watching someone transform before your eyes," one audience member later told entertainment reporters. "One minute he was the Jimmy we know from TV, and the next, he was this aggressive, mean-spirited person. I've watched his show for years, but I'll never see him the same way again." The show's producers attempted to salvage the situation, offering the audience free merchandise and trying to hype up the next guest, but the damage was done. The remaining segments of the show were filmed in an atmosphere best described as frigid, with Kimmel's jokes falling flat and audience reactions feeling forced and uncomfortable. As Margot left the studio, fans and paparazzi, who had gathered outside, noticed her early exit and began asking questions. Always known for her approachable charm and connection with fans, Margot stopped briefly. "Sometimes things go off script," she said, with a quick, witty nod to her acting roots. "That's all I've got for now." But the story was just beginning. By the time Margot reached her car, clips of the confrontation were already circulating widely. The studio audience, armed with their phones and outraged by what they had witnessed, ensured that Kimmel's behavior would not be hidden or edited out of the official broadcast. The incident quickly became the top entertainment story across all major news outlets. Former guests on Kimmel's show began speaking out, sharing their own uncomfortable experiences. "What happened with Margot isn't isolated," revealed one actress, who requested anonymity. "Jimmy can be incredibly cruel when he doesn't get his way. The difference is that Margot had the strength and stature to push back. Many of us just endured it, because we felt we had no choice." A former writer for the show corroborated these accounts. "There's a reason the turnover rate for staff is so high," they explained. "What you saw happen with Margot is the Jimmy we deal with daily. The nice guy act is exactly that, an act." The network executives went into damage control mode, releasing a carefully worded statement that acknowledged the unfortunate incident without placing blame on either party. "We value all our guests and strive to provide a platform for meaningful and entertaining conversations," the statement read. "We regret that tonight's episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live did not meet those standards." Margot's team, meanwhile, maintained a dignified silence, refusing to engage in a public back and forth. This strategic restraint only enhanced Margot's image, with public opinion overwhelmingly in her favor. Industry analysts began speculating about the potential long-term damage to Kimmel's career. "This kind of public meltdown can be career-ending," noted one veteran entertainment reporter. "Especially in today's climate, where authenticity is valued and bad behavior is no longer swept under the rug." Behind the scenes, sources revealed that Kimmel was furious about the backlash, blaming everyone but himself for the debacle. He reportedly demanded that his team find a way to spin the narrative in his favor, and was enraged when they explained that the unedited footage made this virtually impossible. The morning after the explosive confrontation, the story had evolved from entertainment news to a broader conversation about power dynamics in Hollywood and the treatment of guests on talk shows. Media analysts called it a watershed moment, with many predicting it would force a re-evaluation of the talk show format itself. When the heavily edited official broadcast aired, viewers were quick to notice the obvious cuts around the confrontation. The show attempted to present a sanitized version of events, showing Margot leaving during a commercial break, with Kimmel offering a vague explanation about a scheduling misunderstanding. This attempt at damage control backfired spectacularly when compared with the raw footage that had already been widely shared. "They're trying to rewrite what we all saw," commented one viewer in a statement that captured the sentiment of many. Several prominent advertisers, concerned about being associated with such controversy, quietly began pulling their sponsorships, pending further investigation into the incident. Margot's first public appearance after the confrontation came 3 days later, at a charity event she had long been scheduled to attend. Reporters swarmed her, all asking the same questions about the Kimmel incident. Margot, characteristically poised yet candid, offered a measured response. "Look, everyone has off days," she said, with a charm that contrasted Kimmel's lack of grace. "But when you invite someone to your show, you don't try to ambush them. I just stood up for what was right, that's all." When asked if she had heard from Kimmel since the incident, Margot's knowing smile said it all. "No," she replied simply, her tone cool and direct. "But that's okay. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words." Kimmel, meanwhile, was conspicuously absent from his show for the remainder of the week, with the network citing a previously unannounced vacation. Industry insiders revealed that this was no vacation, but rather a mandatory cooling-off period, imposed by network executives who were furious about the situation. "They basically told him to lay low until they figured out how to handle this," revealed a source close to the production. "The damage control meetings have been non-stop. There's genuine concern that this could be the beginning of the end for the show." The enforced break did little to improve Kimmel's demeanor. According to those who interacted with him during this period, he remained defiant, convinced that he had done nothing wrong, and that the public would eventually side with him. This disconnect from reality only served to further concern network executives. When Kimmel finally returned to the air the following week, viewers were treated to a carefully scripted apology that many found hollow and performative. "I want to address what happened last week with Margot Robbie," he began, his tone noticeably subdued. "Things got heated, and I reacted poorly. For that, I apologize to Margot and to our viewers." The apology might have been more effective had it not been immediately followed by a series of jokes that seemed to minimize the incident and subtly shift blame onto Margot for being too sensitive. The backlash was swift, with viewers once again expressing criticism of Kimmel's apparent inability to take genuine responsibility for his actions. Margot, for her part, maintained a dignified silence regarding the apology, neither accepting nor rejecting it publicly. This restraint only enhanced her reputation further, with many commentators praising her strength and professionalism in the face of continued provocation. The long-term consequences for Kimmel became increasingly apparent in the weeks that followed. Ratings for his show plummeted, with many former viewers making good on their promises to boycott the program. Several A-list celebrities quietly canceled their scheduled appearances, not wanting to be associated with the controversy or subjected to similar treatment. Behind the scenes, the working environment at the show reportedly deteriorated further. Staff members, emboldened by the public revelation of Kimmel's behavior, began speaking out about a toxic workplace culture that had existed for years. HR complaints multiplied, forcing the network to launch an internal investigation. "It's like the dam finally broke," explained one crew member. "For years, everyone just accepted that this was how it was, that you had to put up with the tantrums and the disrespect if you wanted to work on a high-profile show. Now, people are realizing that it doesn't have to be that way, that no one should have to endure abuse just to do their job. The network, increasingly concerned about both the public relations disaster and potential legal liability, began quietly exploring options for the show's future. Discussions about possible replacement hosts were initiated, though kept strictly confidential. For Margot, the incident ultimately proved beneficial to her already stellar reputation. Public support for her stance against perceived bullying remained overwhelmingly positive. Several talk show hosts, sensing an opportunity, extended invitations for her to appear on their programs, to promote her film properly. Margot eventually accepted an invitation from a rival network, where she was treated with notable respect and given the space to discuss her project, without invasive personal questions. The interview was widely praised for its substance and professionalism, providing a stark contrast to her experience with Kimmel. The incident sparked a broader conversation within the entertainment industry about the power dynamics at play in celebrity interviews and the often exploitative nature of talk shows that prioritize viral moments over substantive discussion. Several prominent hosts announced changes to their own formats, promising greater collaboration with guests regarding interview topics and boundaries. Industry veterans noted that what made this case particularly significant was Margot's stature. When someone of Margot Robbie's caliber stands up and says enough, people listen, explained one longtime publicist. She had the power to walk away without fear for her career. Unfortunately, many less established actors don't have that luxury, which is why abusive behavior has been tolerated for so long. As the weeks passed, the incident remained a cautionary tale within Hollywood circles. Kimmel's reputation had suffered what many considered irreparable damage, while Margot emerged as something of a hero for standing her ground against perceived mistreatment. The full extent of the professional consequences for Kimmel continues to unfold, with industry analysts closely watching the network's next moves. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. The entertainment landscape has been indelibly altered by those tense moments on stage, when one of Hollywood's most respected actresses refused to be bullied, even by one of television's most powerful personalities. What do you think about this confrontation between Margot Robbie and Jimmy Kimmel? Was Margot right to stand her ground, or should she have played along with Kimmel's aggressive questioning? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.
Thank you for watching our channel Modern Stories. If you liked our video, you should subscribe for more amazing videos like this. Have a healthy and happy day. See you in the next one.